Remember the feeling? That frantic Sunday night drive, racing against the clock, sweaty palms gripping a plastic VHS case. You pull up to the giant blue and yellow monolith, the glowing beacon of Blockbuster Video. You get inside, hand over the tape, and you hear the 3 words that crush your soul. That'll be $12 in late fees. Ah, the late fee. Once the backbone of a retail empire, it was the source of $800 million a year in revenue for one of the biggest names in home entertainment. Today, that ritual is gone. Blockbuster is a ghost. It's the ultimate example of a company that had everything, the brand, the scale, the market, and lost it all by failing to grasp a massive technology scandal brewing right under their nose. This isn't just a story about a video store dying. It's a crucial lesson in corporate arrogance, an inability to adapt. And it's the story of one of the most infamously bad business decisions in history, the failure to embrace streaming technology. It's the decision to literally laugh a tiny startup called Netflix right out of their office. This is the story of how Blockbuster gave away the future. We call this episode the $50 million laugh. To understand the downfall, you first have to remember the height of the empire. In the late 1992 and early 2000s, Blockbuster wasn't just a video store. It was the video store. It was a cultural institution, the primary source of Friday night entertainment for millions of families across the globe. At its peak, Blockbuster had over 9,000 stores globally. They were opening a new location seemingly every 17 hours, a pace that was astonishing. They were a $5 billion company owned by Viacom, one of the biggest media conglomerates in the world. By all accounts, the company was unbeatable. Their business model was brilliant, if simple. Vast inventory in thousands of convenient locations. You wanted the latest movie? You went to Blockbuster. And if you forgot to bring it back on time, that's where the money addiction came in. Those late fees weren't just a nuisance for customers. They were a massive, predictable, and highly profitable revenue stream. Blockbuster was fundamentally a debt collector that just happened to rent movies on the side. They were so focused on optimizing the revenue of their physical assets, the stores, the tapes, the fees, that they developed a form of corporate inertia. This inertia made them resistant to change. Every executive decision was weighed against the potential disruption to that late fee cash cow. They became, in a very real sense, victims of their own success. They were too profitable in the old way to see the new way clearly. Now we jump forward to 2000 and we reach Chapter 2, the rejected offer. While Blockbuster was riding high, a small, struggling startup was bleeding cash. This company, founded in 1997 by Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph, was called Netflix. Their model was simple: rent DVDs by mail with a flat rate subscription, and most importantly, they had no late fees. Netflix was certainly a headache to Blockbuster, but executives did not see them as a true threat. Who, after all, wanted to wait 3 days for a DVD in the mail when you could instantly drive to a Blockbuster store? It seemed like a niche, inefficient model. Facing the dot-com bubble burst and running out of money, Hastings and Randolph flew to Blockbuster's Dallas headquarters for a pitch meeting. The proposal they brought was simple and, in hindsight, truly staggering. They suggested that Blockbuster buy Netflix for a mere $50 million. Blockbuster would continue to run the thriving retail stores, and Netflix would handle the burgeoning online brand. It was a chance to own the future of both physical and digital distribution. Blockbuster's then CEO, John Antioco, and his executive team listened to the presentation. They heard the vision for the future of movie rental. And then, according to accounts from Netflix founders, Antioco and his team paused and burst out laughing. It was a moment of pure, unadulterated hubris. They considered a company that was losing money and mailing shiny frisbees to be an insignificant niche product. It simply wasn't worth their time or their $50 million investment. The meeting was abruptly over. That laughter in 2000 would become one of the most expensive and short-sighted rejections in the history of technology scandals. Blockbuster had their final, clear opportunity to get ahead of the inevitable digital revolution, and they completely scoffed at it. Netflix survived the rejection, fortunately for them. By being forced to stand on its own, it innovated faster and prioritized the one thing Blockbuster consistently ignored: the customer experience. Blockbuster did eventually wake up, but they were already in Chapter 3, the scramble to catch up. In 2004, years after the infamous meeting, they finally launched Blockbuster Online. This was a mail-order service meant to directly rival Netflix. It was their first major attempt to pivot their strategy, and for a while, it actually worked quite well. They leveraged their tremendous brand power and their vast inventory to quickly gain serious traction. They had the name recognition that Netflix lacked. Then, in 2005, they truly doubled down with a program called Total Access. This was a genuinely revolutionary move for its time. You could rent movies online via mail, and then, for extreme convenience, return them to any physical Blockbuster store. You even got a free in-store movie rental for doing so. This was a true omni-channel model, the convenience of mail delivery plus the instant gratification of retail. It was incredibly popular with customers. The problem, unfortunately, was that it was a massive, uncontrolled financial disaster. The logistics of Total Access meant that Blockbuster was losing about $2 every single time a customer returned a DVD. They were hemorrhaging cash trying to compete with a model they didn't fully understand and weren't actually built to support. They were trying to bolt a futuristic car engine onto a horse-drawn carriage. The two systems, the physical stores and the online mail service, were perpetually at war with each other. The old infrastructure could not support the new initiative. To make matters worse, Blockbuster finally capitulated to customer pressure and killed off late fees entirely to be more competitive. This was a necessary move for customer goodwill, but it cost them a devastating $200 million in annual revenue, leaving a huge financial hole that the failing mail service couldn't possibly fill. They had destroyed their profitable past without fully committing to a viable future. The final nail in the coffin wasn't mail-order DVDs. It was the next great leap in technology. This is Chapter 4, the digital tsunami. In 2007, Netflix pivoted again, launching their first small streaming service. At the time, it was a rough collection of older titles offered simply as a free bonus to their existing DVD subscribers. Blockbuster executives again saw this as merely a joke. Broadband internet wasn't fast or widespread enough, they argued. The technology was still too new to matter. They couldn't have been more wrong about the pace of change. This mindset failure was the key difference between the two companies. Netflix saw itself fundamentally as a technology-driven entertainment company. Blockbuster saw itself as purely a retail store that rented media. Netflix was willing to completely cannibalize its successful DVD by mail business to invest heavily in the future of digital distribution. This was the only way forward. Blockbuster, meanwhile, was still tied down by a massive debt load over $1 billion. They also had the staggering operational costs of maintaining those 9,000 physical stores. By the time they seriously considered launching their own true streaming platform, the market had completely changed. Netflix was perfecting its user experience. They were securing crucial content deals. And, most importantly, they were gathering vast amounts of data on what people watched, giving them a massive technical advantage. Blockbuster's eventual digital efforts were simply too late to matter. They were too fragmented, and they suffered from a poor user interface and drastically limited content. They were playing catch-up in a race that had already been decided years earlier. The rise of companies like Redbox, offering low-cost, automated physical rentals, only added to the pressure. Redbox was able to efficiently squeeze the already narrow profit margins of the remaining Blockbuster stores even further. They were attacked from the digital front and the low-cost physical front. The economic reality was harsh and unavoidable. As more and more consumers got high-speed internet, they realized they could watch a movie instantly for a flat fee. The need for a physical store vanished. The risk of a late fee vanished, too. The entire Blockbuster business model became a historical technical disaster, a casualty of the overwhelming digital revolution. By 2010, the weight of the debt and the absolute failure to adapt was too great to overcome. Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy. Its remaining assets were eventually purchased by Dish Network, but the decline could not be stopped. One by one, the bright blue and yellow stores went dark. Today, there is only one independently owned Blockbuster store left in the world. It exists as a museum piece in Bend, Oregon. And Netflix? Well, the company Blockbuster laughed out of the room in 2000 for $50 million is now a global streaming giant worth billions, not millions, That laughter was indeed the most expensive sound they ever made. So, what are the ultimate lessons from this epic tech fail story? The tragic end of Blockbuster Video is one of the most important case studies in modern business history. It's not just a story about being beaten by a better product. It's a story about being beaten by a better business model that was enabled entirely by technology. Lesson 1. Don't be addicted to old revenue. Blockbuster's late fees blinded them to the future. They flat out refused to invest in a business model that would initially cut into their most profitable revenue stream. Companies must be willing to cannibalize their own success if they truly want to survive the digital age. Change is the price of existence. Lesson 2. Disruption doesn't announce itself loudly. Netflix started as a niche product mailing heavy DVDs. It looked like a small annoyance, not an existential threat that would doom them. Blockbuster failed to recognize that the new technology was perfectly aligned with where consumer convenience and behavior were inevitably heading in the future. Lesson 3. Mindset is everything. Netflix saw itself as a tech company first, which made the pivot from mail order to streaming an obvious, logical step. Blockbuster saw itself as a retail operation. That retail focus made the pivot to digital an impossible internal war. You have to understand your core competency is not what you sell, but how you deliver value to the customer. Lesson 4. Agility trumps size. Having 9,000 stores and a multi-billion-dollar brand was an asset, yes, but it also became a crippling liability. Blockbuster's sheer size and complexity made it slow and cumbersome. Netflix, in contrast, was able to innovate and iterate at lightning speed, constantly adapting. This agility allowed them to win the war for the future. The Blockbuster scandal is a stark warning to every giant company in the digital age. Resources and brand dominance mean absolutely nothing if you lack vision and agility. The late fee is dead. Long live the instantaneous, always-on stream. And all because Blockbuster couldn't see past the walls of their own store. What do you think? Were you a Blockbuster faithful, or did you embrace the Netflix model early on? Let us know your memories in the comments below. And if you want to see more stories of technological hubris and historical tech fails, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. We've got plenty more disaster stories coming your way very soon. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.